Jameis comes to town in just a couple days. We're going to do everything that we can do to break this game down for you guys on today's show. This is another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee, coming to you from the Ochsner Health podcast studio. And as always, we are right next door to my guy, Matt Powers, up on Vets, state-of-the-art Ford dealership. Make sure you go check them out today. Get yourself that Bronco, that F-150, that Mustang, whatever you need. Treat yourself. Holiday season's coming up. No one's going to love you more than you. And tell yourself that you love you with a new car, or tell a loved one if, that's your thing. But, it's time for giving, and you can give to yourself if you want to. Nothing wrong with that. We're going to give you guys a great show today. So we're in the spirit of giving to others, and hope you watch it. Tune in. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this word from our sponsors. Ochsner Health is proud to team up with the NFL and the New Orleans Saints' Crucial Catch mission to fight cancer and save lives. Crucial Catch helps more people access the tools they need to catch cancer early and promotes prevention and early detection of cancer.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile, year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. NewOrleans.Football is proudly sponsored by Urban South Brewery, the makers of Paradise Park Lager. I love supporting local breweries, and when looking for a refreshing, easy drinking beer, I always recommend Paradise Park. In fact, I think it might be the best game day beer out there. If you want something a little lighter, try Paradise Light. It's everything I love about Paradise Park with just 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And if you're looking for a family-friendly place to watch the game, I'd recommend Urban South's Tap Room in the Lower Garden District. They've got 15 TVs, 30 unique beers on tap, and mouth-watering urban smash burgers. The whole family will want to make Urban South their new living room, because at Urban South, they take laid back seriously. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Chabert worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com. All right, let's get into the show. Welcome back to NewOrleans.Football, presented by PJ's Coffee. I'm Nick Underhill. That's Mike Triplett. Brandon Thomas on the end, the guy in the glasses. What you got for us?
Wait, hold on. Was that your Ford Power Rankings? Was that off the top of your head, or
He's
was that
been
like a
rocking
real
with the
power
No, I
ranking?
go Bronco one. I go Bronco one.
I think you said Bronco
Yeah, you
first.
did.
You said
Yeah,
Bronco,
F-150
F-150,
and
Mustang. Is that the top three?
I mean, I'd go Bronco. I like the older Broncos even better. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely go Bronco.
Okay.
I mean, maybe Ford Explorer. They
Yeah,
got,
no, so nice. It's a
maybe
very nice
Ford
vehicle.
Explorer.
Very nice vehicle. Very
They still
nice
got
vehicle.
the Ford Escort going. That used to be like
was
back
my
when I
first
was like
car.
16. That was like the car everyone had.
Yeah, that was my first car, Ford
No
Escort.
idea.
It was a
Maybe they don't have
it was
it
like
anymore.
a 1980s Ford Escort. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
still make a Ford Fiesta.
I don't know.
All right.
Car industry changing, man. I like the Christmas theme you started off with. James coming to town, gift yourself, gift somebody else.
Yeah, it was
I
just
like
on the fly. Yeah, it was on the fly. Yeah.
I got it. I see.
Yeah,
You
I don't
get-
know if it really came together, but there was something there.
The elements were there,
there's
and if
something there,
you if you're good enough, you pick them up.
Yep.
That's right. Let's get into our first segment presented by Urban South. Saints are getting a lot of players back this week. Eric McCoy, Kool-Aid McKinstry. How many wins are the Saints going to win for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not getting too ahead of myself here. I think there's a lot of things that have been really hyped this week. The Saints in general, the right tackle. Like I would calm down on a few of those things for sure. But I think they can beat the Browns. I would circle the Giants as a possibility. I would circle the Raiders as a possibility, and I don't necessarily feel great about any of the other ones right now. We need to see more. Team's definitely really energized overall. I think that matters. I think it'll carry on. I think they really love Rizzy. I think they're really bought into it, and I think they'll stay bought into it. But I don't know that you're drastically changing your trajectory when they're still a really injured team. I mean, they still are a really injured team. I think they're missing a lot of players, and I don't feel great about them winning. What is there left? 7 games. I don't feel great about them winning 5 or 6 of them. Definitely not 7 of them. I think it's probably more 2-3. My guess.
Yeah. Well, first of all, last year's Saints, this year's Saints, healthy Saints, injured Saints, I don't believe in their consistency. So we could pick the matchups. They could beat the Buccaneers. They could probably beat the Commanders. The Commanders looked pretty bad last night, I thought. Little reality check for them against the Eagles. But what I don't think they can do is like win 6 out of 8 games. I mean, we just haven't seen that level of consistency, and that's what happens when you have holes all over the roster, the injuries that they have. So I think they're capable of doing some good things and having some good moments. But to finish this Rizzy era 6-2, I think is way too much ask. Could they be 4-4? Which means going 3-4 over the rest of this schedule. I think that's possible. I think some of the things we saw were real. I think the thing that's impossible to quantify is, all right, so the defense got its act together, and Tyron gave a great speech during the week, and DeMario gave a great speech before the fourth quarter started, and they finally finished a game for like the first time all season by closing it out with big plays on the final 2 drives. Was that adrenaline? Was that, was that temporary, or is that turning a new leaf and that's how they're going to play football for the entire second half of the season?
Well, I can answer that.
Yeah.
I mean, the Tyron pick, he made a play that typically was not allowed to be made within the structure of the defense before. Like they didn't allow him to leave the post to jump dig routes. He left the post to jump a dig route. Like, so some of that stuff can happen. Like some instinctual plays being allowed to be made. I think that stuff can happen. I would counter one thing you said, like, I'm not worried about their consistency. I think they're going to find what they are probably this week, the bye week. I think they're going to find what they are, and they will be that. I think they will find some level of consistency in the things they do, because I do believe coaching matters, and I think they got rid of a coach that allowed them to be inconsistent, and I don't think Rizzy's going to allow inconsistencies. I think he's going to get some stuff together. I just don't think they are talented enough overall to be a team that wins 5-6 games down the stretch. Because, again, all your receivers are hurt. Yeah. All your cornerbacks are hurt. Yeah. We don't know if Kool-Aid McKinstry is a good player yet. If he is, like, maybe that changes a little bit of the view overall. Pete Werner's hurt right now. There's still a lot of injuries to overcome. Like, they aren't a full-strength team. So I just don't think I don't think you're going into Green Bay and beating the Packers with Marquez Valdez-Scantling as your number 1 receiver. I think he's a good piece on a team, but I don't think he's a good number 1 receiver when there's nobody else behind him. Like, he's your only weapon at that position right now. So I just think it's hard to be that. Like, I don't think they can find a level that takes you there. But I really do think that Rizzy's going to get them to find some type of identity. And I think you're going to be able to consistently expect some level of something going forward. It isn't going to be, well, they're consistently a team that shoots themselves in the foot. Like, that's what their consistency was before. I think they'll find a way to get on the other side of some of that stuff.
I believe in Rizzy too, and I believe in the practical solutions he brought to the team, but I'm going to need to see it before I believe this is a team that won't shoot itself in the foot. I mean, even last week, there were holding penalty. There were 2 PIs and a defensive holding. There was the offensive holding. There was a false start. I mean, like, that goes with the talent level too. I mean, there's this is a flawed, imperfect team, and I think you can get a rise out of these guys, and you can get their attention to detail, and you can come up with a good game plan. But I think shooting themselves in the foot will still be a part of the.
I think they will too,
yeah,
but I think once you get some time on task and you got more than 72 hours with the team, like the substitution stuff changed. So then, okay, now we're drilling that. Okay, what's the next thing? I think he's a person that's going to identify problems and figure out how to fix them.
No, I agree with that
and,
for sure.
I don't think that happens in 1 week. I don't think it happens in 2. Like, it might be December. Like, it might be the Commanders game where all of a sudden, like, all these little things that were like plaguing him are gone. Like, he fixed some of them already. He was like, all right, we can't substitute, so we're going to be able to substitute this week. And then they did. Like, so now, okay, we hold too much, and then maybe they focus on that. Like, I think he's somebody that actually is going to attack issues. Like, I don't think they did that before. I don't think there was any level of accountability before. Like, you can rewind 3 years. Like, there's no accountability. Next year, there's no accountability. There's no so I think there is now, and I think that stuff's going to help.
Kevin and I just recorded the members only pod, and we did 3 things that we actually believe in from last week and 3 things that we don't believe in. I led with something I don't believe in. It was the receiving. Like, they manufactured a way to make the passing game work by hitting 2 deep shots to MVS. You take those away, they had no other cards left in their hand. They had nothing else. And I don't know that they can keep manufacturing that. I do believe in the run game though, so I think the offense can be competent, but very one-sided for sure.
We're going to get more into this in our next segment, but I really do think that as time goes on, it's just interesting to see Rizzy having to patch certain holes as the car is still going 100 miles per hour. The car is going 100 miles per hour. Oh, I caught it flat in the back. Let me patch that, in terms of the substitutions. Oh, well, the door is opening when I get over this. Let me try to hold it in terms of the penalties and stuff like that. So you have to combat that. And another thing, you don't want to be a team's get-right game. The Rams are a team that are still, kind of in the mix in their division that could possibly make the playoffs. You don't want to be the game where they get right on. Not even looking that far ahead, even looking to Sunday's game. Nick Chubb is trying to get his feet back under him. You don't want to be the get-right game where that happens. The Commanders, they're, at this point kind of wishy-washy. In the later half of the season, it looks like you don't want to be their get-right game going into the playoffs. So I think the Saints need to find a way to just, continue this identity of high energy and stuff that Rizzy is starting to establish and carry that on into this next stretch of games to, finish out in a respectable manner. Instead of just putting a number on it, let's just say a respectable manner of, oh man, like we caught hell from them. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I feel in this situation.
It's tough that, they're only 1.5 point favorites too at home. So that's not a good size. I think it opened at 2.5, so that means like people are betting heavily on the Browns too, like people with big money. So I don't know, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, there's a Browns podcast going on with like, how many more games can the Browns win? Well, they can beat the Saints. That's what the Saints look like on everyone else's schedule on this list.
Let's get into our next segment presented by Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. Which matchups matter most in Browns at Saints?
Well, I think there's 2. Obviously, it's Talifuaga against Myles Garrett is going to be the thing that kind of determines, the whole entire game. If Derek Carr is getting rattled, like we see what that looks like. He's somebody who doesn't handle that very well. When he has time to throw, he looks good. When he doesn't, he's going to speed himself up. He's going to be shaky. Almost all of Garrett's snaps have been against that tackle, the left tackle. I do wonder if they flip it at all to the right. I think both those guys are spotty, but if I'm scheming up a game and I'm saying I'm going to win one matchup, I thought Trevor Penning looked good. I agree that he played perhaps the best game of his career. I still have major questions about him. You go back to the Broncos game, he allowed 8 pressures. I think the coronation is happening way too soon here. I wrote a story and I praised it, but I also said if I could draft one, I would. I still feel that way about it. And I just feel it's important to say that because I don't want anyone to look at me like, well, you were hyping. No, I wasn't. Like, if you actually read the story, like I said, he played a good game, spotty in pass protection, good, an asset as a run blocker. I think it's getting a little too far there. But if I were scheming it up, I would try to get him against him. But look, the Saints have done a really good job, especially with guys on the edge, of having a pass rush plan or a blocking plan for the pass rush that has worked well. So maybe this might be another one where they're able to neutralize it. But I think that's the one that determines the game. And then number 2 is just MVS versus Ward. If I'm the Browns, I got Denzel Ward on MVS the whole game.
Yeah.
I'm trying to take him away, and I say beat me with everything else. And that's how I would go about it. We'll see if they just play sides. It wouldn't be a shock. But if they're just playing sides and they can get him on Martin Emerson, like, I don't know, maybe you do get a deep play in this game.
The return of Eric McCoy and the Saints run game is interesting to me. I mean, the Browns had the number 1 defense in the NFL last year. They're a lot more middle of the road now. I mean, I think that's why they're a 7-loss team now, as much as all the Deshaun Watson stuff. Their defense has eroded a little bit. I'm going to butcher the name. Is it Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah? He's on injured reserve. They've really missed him. So the Saints run game has shown some life in recent weeks. I think Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill are still the 2 most reliable playmakers they have. Those guys, especially Alvin Kamara, have still been playing at a special level. The offensive line has been playing a little better, especially in run blocking. Eric McCoy adds to that. That's the matchup the Saints have to almost dominate to win this game. I mean, they have to stay ahead of the game. They have to stay ahead of the chains. They have to not be in 3rd and long situations where they're desperate to hit a pass to Valdez-Scantling or God knows who else in the passing game. I'd like to see their tight ends step a little more in that. But it's funny. I think if we looked at the schedule from the very beginning of the season, we would have pointed out Myles Garrett versus the offensive tackles as the matchup they can't overcome, but we would also said, I don't think you can run against this Cleveland Browns team, and now I think you can. So the Saints absolutely have to do that in this game.
Yeah, I mean, and to your point too, like they have 2 really good interior players, Hicks and Tomlinson. Their linebackers, Bush, Hicks, and or Harris and Tomlinson. Their linebackers, Bush, Hicks, and Diabate is how you say it. Like they're really good. Like it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to run the ball in this game. All them guys are really good at run defense. So. Yeah, having Eric McCoy back is huge.
Did we wait too long to talk about Jameis Winston? I mean, that's the defining player on the field in this game. That's the one, I mean, Jameis is always fascinating, if nothing else. He was the AFC player of the week 2 weeks ago, or I should say 3 weeks ago, because they just had their bye. When they beat the Ravens, but he had so many potential interceptions bounce out of the hands of Ravens defensive players, including in the final minutes. And then last week, they only score 3 points in their last game, and he did throw the picks. That's what we need to find out is real with the Saints. That pass rush that they showed again in glimpses last week, Chase Young making his biggest play to date as a Saint, Cam Jordan with his first sack of the season, pressure on the quarterback, Tyrann Mathieu making the read and having the freedom to be able to do that, as Nick said. Jameis will give you opportunities. Shocker. The Saints need to exploit them.
One thing that stuck out to me in your analysis of Valdez-Scantling and how the corners are going to have to play him, last week you talked about how Atlanta changed the way they played him later in the game, and that completely just eliminated him from the field. So do you think Cleveland is going to have the wherewithal to do that consistently throughout the whole game? And what other receivers can possibly step up with him coming off the board?
Well, they might see if they need to. I don't know if it's a weird offense. Like you game plan for Alvin and who else?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Like you might go out there and just play your sides and see, and if you got to make a change, Atlanta switched from playing sides and they put AJ Terrell on him, and that was it. Like it was over. So if that's all you have to do, and then you say, okay, our front seven's going to handle the run game, like that's how I would go about it if I was a defensive coordinator. I don't think it has to be overly complicated, and just take off the one thing and say, all right, well then beat me with your other guys. Beat me with Tipton. Beat me with Dante Pettis. Beat me with Kevin Austin. Like I'm willing to lose against those guys. If that's how you beat me, so be it. Like, but I'm not going to let you beat me with your, you want to go deep and you want to run the ball. I can take away or attempt to take away the deep ball and then just play my run defense. That's how I would go about it. Will they have the wherewithal to do it? Like if MVS is getting on Emerson and he's smoking them, I mean, I think very quickly you make that change. So it's definitely possible they just do what they got to do. I mean, it's not like a blueprint here or anything like, well, you shadow MVS. Like I don't know if I would put it like that. I'm just saying that's the only thing you really have to do at this point. And then, all right, now can Foster Moreau beat me? All right, fine. Like, I'm okay with that if he can. Can Juwan Johnson do it? Okay, fine. Like, but I'm not going to let you beat me with a deep ball if I'm the defensive coordinator of one of these teams, because I know that's what you're trying to do.
Right. That's your bread and butter, and that's what you're trying to go after.
And you know, the one other thing that worth focusing on, I think, in this game is you brought up Nick Chubb. I'm really curious. He's shown a little rust, obviously, after such a major injury that took up like a year to rehab and starting late into this season. But he had the bye week to recharge, re-energize, and this is a run defense that, even in the win over the Falcons, they were still missing tackles. They were still getting gashed for big gains. Really good interior line in Cleveland. And it's feeling like no Pete Werner in this game. It seems unlikely. And I don't like the Saints being able to stop Nick Chubb. I don't like the Saints being able to stop David Njoku. They're really talented tight end without Pete Werner. I think that's is a bad matchup to be missing Pete Werner in.
And that was going to go into my next point about David Njoku. Now, the athleticism isn't the same as Kyle Pitts, but this year the Saints, they've gotten gashed by tight ends. You have Goddard earlier in the season with the Eagles. You had Pitts last week, and you don't want David Njoku to have that opportunity to have that spectacular highlight reel catch. Kool-Aid McKinstry, he was a full participant in practice yesterday. How is adding him to the mix going to try to eliminate that?
I don't know. I mean, he's not going to get matched on Njoku necessarily, but
just having him,
the Browns receivers are a question mark for them, not to the same level as the Saints. Cedric Tillman has really stepped up for them, but they were already kind of a disappointing group. Jerry Jeudy hasn't lived up to expectations there. Elijah Moore hasn't lived up to expectations in his career. They're all potentially dangerous threats, but they traded away Amari Cooper a couple weeks ago. But Jameis is going to give the Saints opportunities. He's going to give his guys opportunities. So, absolutely. It is on Alontae Taylor. It's on Shamar Jean-Charles. It's on Ugo Amadi to make sure and not give them the free 60-yard play that they give up every single week, and not to give up those. The guy got behind me, and now I'm grabbing him for a 40-yard pass interference penalty either. It scares me that the Saints will be able to avoid that all game long.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Score big with Saints Score. Win up to $100,000. Enter the second chance drawings for cool Saints prize packages. Play Saints Score scratch-offs from the lottery.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing lender.
Welcome to the Queen Casino, where entertainment meets unparalleled customer service. From our days on the water to our new land experience overlooking the Mississippi River, our dedicated staff is here to ensure your visit is nothing short of exceptional. Whether you are coming or going, our well-lit parking lot and security team provide guests with red carpet treatment. Our security team keeps watch so you can focus on fun and fortune. From table to table, our attentive staff is here to serve up the ultimate experience. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome into the Oshner Health Podcast Studio here on Veterans Memorial Boulevard. It is now time for our next segment presented by the Louisiana Lottery. Which Saints pass catchers would you start in fantasy this week? You got MVS, you got Juwan. Who do you even go with at this point?
Yeah, I mean, Nick just pointed it out. I mean, like, nobody scares me. If you can take away, if you know that Derek Carr wants to throw that deep ball and you say, let's just let that be the one thing they don't beat us with. I mean, Alvin scares me a little in the passing game. They almost hit that awesome play to him at the end of the game last week. But it's got to be a Juwan Johnson game. Like, I would almost be scared to start MVS in fantasy because it's just so telegraphed that that's the guy the Saints want to get the ball to. And I feel like the Browns will do anything they can to be like, all right, show us that you have something else. And that something has to be Juwan Johnson for me. I think it's really hard to trust him, but they absolutely, positively have to make him a thing. They have to. It's not going to be what wins you a game. I mean, even if you get him 6 times for 72 yards, that's not winning you a game. Mm-hmm. But you have to get him 6 times for 72 yards. You need to have that element in this passing game. Otherwise, you have nothing else.
If you are in a league deep enough to have to play one of these guys, you have degenerate problems. And you need to call the number, like, because something's wrong. Like, something's wrong.
Yeah. It's real talk. You can't put it no other way than that.
Yeah.
But Juwan, we talked about it last week when we were at PJ's that he is the second leading receiver that's active on this team. Alvin is first, and then it's him after that. Of course, Chris and Rashid are in there, but they're both out possibly for the rest of the year in terms of Chris. And he hasn't even cracked 300 receiving yards yet. So it is time, like you said, for him to just step up, become a factor. You know what I mean? Show, hey, man, I'm Juwan Johnson. I used to be a receiver, but I play tight end, and I could go up there and get that thing. I think that's going to be the key. Just in terms of success with this offense in general, you have to have that element that's added in there.
Hold on, I'm looking at yards. Yeah, he's still got Valdez-Scantling in yards, too. It's close now.
Yep. Now it's time for the Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's, so much more than just wine. How likely is it that Derek Carr is the Saints starting quarterback next season?
Just answering the question, taking out all the qualifiers and all that, vary. Like, it's very likely, it's more likely than not. I think he'll end up being the starter next year. It doesn't really make a lot of financial sense against the cap to get rid of him. If they do it, they're going to be really hamstrung. The only way they do it is if the next coach comes in and says, I don't want to do this. Let's tank and only win 3-4 games. That's the only way it happens. But I don't see that happening, and I don't think the current power structure is anywhere near wanting to push him out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree more with your it's more likely than not than very.
We've talked to people who say very likely. So.
Yeah, but I mean, who's the next person? Like, and I hope they have some say in it. Like, I mean, I've said this a million times. I think Derek Carr is in the same tier as Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield, and I'd put Russell Wilson in there and what he's doing for the Steelers and stuff. But I'm not paying any one of those guys $40 million if I don't have a team that is ready to compete right now. So it really has to be about the approach. I mean, $40 million is what he deserves to get paid because that's still like what you pay the 24th best quarterback in the NFL. But that's just not what I'm doing if I'm in a reset year with the Saints. and I'm not built
Me
to
neither,
win that year.
but this is like, what are they going to do?
Yeah,
Not what
I
we
get
do.
it.
Like, what,
but I'm
what are they
hoping the
gonna
next,
do? Yeah.
like, I'm hoping
As it
whoever
stands
they
now,
hire
though,
it has some say in that.
I would say as it stands now, though, right? Like,
Yeah, more likely than not.
It's
for
almost.
sure.
I'd say it's almost certain he's on the team next year. As it stands, if you're making a decision today, but like that voice of influence isn't in there. But answering this today, yeah, I mean, I think incredibly likely. What would I do? I would tear it down and try to get a top 5 pick. Like, that's what I would do. I think that's what they should do. I don't think that's what they will do, though. Like, if you're asking me today, now, once they hire a coach, what's the power structure, all that stuff, like, all that could change. But, like, as it sits now, I don't think there's nothing that we can say that would be different because everything points toward, like, yes. So.
I also think there's a good chance a coach would want Derek Carr. I mean, I think, and we've said that, we've made that point a couple times. A coach wants to rebuild. A coach wants to have draft picks. A coach wants to build something sustainable. But a coach also doesn't want to go 3-14 in his first year. And if he's like, you know what, I think I could, sneak us into the NFC South title and win Coach of the Year with this team. Like, he's not going to want to do that. You give up if you don't have a quarterback. And Derek Carr signifies not giving up.
You talked about a draft pick in your answer. That's leading into our next question. What should the Saints target in the first 2 rounds of the draft?
Everything.
That's going to be my exact one-word answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if they have a elite pick, there's elite positions. It doesn't have to be quarterback. Quarterback's absolutely on the table. It's the most important thing until they find one. But left tackle, defensive end, defensive tackle is probably breathing down the neck of those positions as far as importance. But cornerback and receiver, even though they have a couple good young ones in the building, could absolutely be in play and should be in play. Safety is a must. Linebacker, they're getting older. Demario Davis only has so many years left. That becomes a must. The rest of the offensive line, an interior guy like a left guard, feels like a must. I mean, there's, running back is a must in round 3 or 4. There is not a position on this roster that is not, and that actually makes the question everything but nothing. They shouldn't target anything. They should get great players on this team because they have needs at every single position.
Going back to previewing the game Sunday, Taysom Hill, his usage kind of dropped at the end of the game. Do we expect to see an uptick in his usage to just help the Saints in this game coming up?
I would hope so. I mean, I think there's a missed opportunity there. I'm not sure why they went away from him. Look, he didn't deliver on the 4th, and I was glad they went with Taysom Hill. They went for it on 4th and 2 on that first drive, and they went with Taysom Hill, who should be your best bet for 2 yards in a game at any time, and he didn't deliver on that. Got stuffed again later. But as we said, this offense does not have a reliable passing game. The offensive line is starting to play some of its best football. The run game's been pretty good. Eric McCoy is back. I would hit them in as many ways as often as possible, as many creative ways as possible with Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill. They're your best 2 chances to win the game in that order. So I hope they have more plans for Taysom Hill.
I'm throwing up a Martin's question of the day here. Just going back to the last one. Do they even hire a coach that wants to do a full-on rebuild? Because they're so philosophically against it. Like, everything that we know about this team is that they won't cut Derek and they aren't going to rebuild. Like, would they even consider that path of blow it up?
They not blow it up, but I think Derek Carr is a different question. Like, I look at the Minnesota Vikings this year, and they did a soft reset at the quarterback position, and they paid Sam Darnold $8 million. Like, 2 years ago, the Buccaneers did a soft reset, and they paid Baker Mayfield $4 million. Like, that's a path you can do while keeping everyone else. You don't have to get rid of DeMario. You don't have to get rid of Tyron. You don't have to get.
You can't do anything. Like, you're bottoming them out. If you cut them, you're bottoming out. Like, you can't really go sign anyone. Like,
right, but then you can sign a lot of guys in 2026. So,
but would they do that? What we know about them is that they wouldn't.
I would consider that.
Like, if you get rid of Carr, then by 26, Cam's done. DeMario might be done. Tyron might be done. Like, would they be willing to do? Like, everything we know about him is that they wouldn't.
I agree with that, but I mean, if you hire me to look at this team, I'm going to be like,
that's not what I'm asking.
Right,
like,
right.
Would they?
But
like,
I'm saying
what we would do is in the past. What we would do is we would tear it down. We would rebuild it. Like, I don't want to present this conversation as if it's like one saying this, one saying that. Would they? Like, I don't know. Would Mickey Loomis do that? Like, I don't know.
I think it would. I think that would have to be a consideration. I think you are mortgaging the future of your team if you put another $40 million into next season. And I sure hope that they would let somebody say, you know what I'd like to do is not spend $40 million on the quarterback and try to remain competitive in the meantime. I sure hope that's on the table. And I like to think it might be not a total teardown, but not paying the quarterback $40 million. I would hope that is an option the new coach has.
I don't know. Like, just the way they talk about everything is that they philosophically do not believe in doing that. Now, I think that's a mistake. Like, honestly, like, if you aren't going to make the playoff, but you can quickly erode kind of everything. So I don't know. I don't know if that's part of their considerations or not. Like, it's a fascinating caveat to
I think that model is out there, though. The one I just mentioned, the Vikings paying Darnold $8 million, the Buccaneers paying Mayfield $4 million. I don't think that is diametrically opposed to Mickey Loomis's philosophy. I think you can say we can still try to win games while doing that. I hope that's still part of their philosophy.
Yeah. Nah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Honestly, I don't, because they are so against that. And it's not even just like the next season. It's on your 50 the year after that, like, to cut them. Like, there's just really not a way out of this. Like, it's not like you can keep them and cut them and then tear it. Like, so I would make that at the forefront. And it's not a Derek Carr thing. It's a Saints thing. But I think they honestly believe that it is the injuries. Yeah. That you do just build around it. You add to it. You restructure that money. You build out your depth, and you're a playoff team next year. I think that's how they see it. I think that's how they see it, though. Like, I don't know that organizationally, but if it's okay, Mike Vrabel will come here, but he wants to get rid of him. Like, I think then you do, but I don't know. I don't know where they're at with it. I mean, the next person is going to have a lot of voice in it. Like, to Mickey's credit, I think he does defer to, like, his coaches. DA got everything he wanted. Sean got damn near everything he wanted. So I think he would fall in line with it. You know, I think he will give them the groceries they want, but I don't know if that's part of their thing. Like, no, we don't want to hire a guy that wants to rip this to the studs. That might be a caveat in their search. Like, it really might be.
You're right, because history definitely does say that. But how would you even hire somebody and then say, hey, you can do a little bit of this, but you can't do everything?
Well, because if you're hiring somebody, for any job in the whole world, they have to be there's a philosophical fit. Like, you're going to talk to someone, and, you know, if I'm hiring someone in here and I want a video made a certain way and they want to make it another way, I'm not hiring that guy. Like, that's just, we aren't on the same page. It's not going to work. So, yeah, I mean, I think if you're hiring someone, you're trying to hire someone that fits your vision for the job. So, for sure. I mean,
you walk out of that room and you're like, we see things the same way. I really like this candidate. Yeah,
you're not hiring someone that's like, well, this guy's, you know, he's out of control. He's got a hold, like, for any job. Like, you aren't doing that. You aren't hiring, you know, a writer to cover the Saints that wants to cover them, like, you know, oh no, we shouldn't talk about it. Like, I'm not going to cover injuries or chase news. It's like, well, that's what we want. Like, so you don't hire that guy that doesn't think similarly to how you think. So I really do wonder, like, as we're thinking about, like, I hadn't even considered that until today. Like, I really do wonder if that's going to be part of it. Like, that they're like, no, like, we want to stay all in on this. Like, we think we're close. Like, what do you think? No, I don't think well, I don't know. You know, like, I wonder if that's going to be part of it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Well, I'm not saying it is. Like, it's just like, I wonder if it is.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a great question because it has legs. It has legs for sure. That'll do it for this edition of NewOrleans.Football. We appreciate y'all for stopping in today. For those who are not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. And for those who are subscribed, we're about to get into overtime. Make sure to check out the pregame show Sunday. Catch you next time.